Welcome, Carm Capriato, the Service Aftermarkets Podcast Pioneer, with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and remarkableresults.biz or on my YouTube channel.
Thank you so much to NAPA Tracks for sponsoring us here at ASTA Expo this year. Great SMS company. Love the relationship that we have with NAPA Tracks. So you're here training, David, yourself. You're going to classes. You've got people here. What are you guys presenting?
So Jim Kokonis on our team had a course yesterday. I don't think I can actually say the name of the course. They had kind of a clever...
You can't say it. Oh, my God, that's right. It was with Brian? Mm-hmm. For sure you can't say it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was in it.
And you were there?
I was there.
I got a coin the night before.
The poker chip?
I hear it was a hoot.
Yes, that's what I hear as well. So.
And Jim, of course, Jim's been on the show before. We know Jim really well. I love Jim. He's a great guy. And he's working with you, which is a great feather in both caps. That's a good thing. We had gotten the preview of what that class was going to be about. And if anyone knows Brian, I don't know how the hell Jim even contained him. I wasn't in the class. How did it go?
I was in there as well, so Dwayne will have to tell us.
What was your opinion of that class, Dwayne?
Went well. In fact, when I was actually going through the roster of classes to sign up for this event, I saw that one. I said, I'm definitely going. That was the first one I picked. That's the one I'm going to, for sure. There's no way I'm not going to go to this and not go to that.
Because of the title?
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll make it all curious for you. So anyone who's listening, you may have to go on social media to figure out what the hell happened there.
Check it out.
Big teaser.
Yeah, that's right. I love it. Yeah, that's a great teaser. Hey, did you know that NAPA Tracks has on-site training plus 6-day-a-week support? Well, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Let us prove to you that Tracks is the single best shop management system in the business. Find NAPA Tracks on the web at napatracks.com. And you know, shop owners, at the end of the day, relish in the satisfaction of seeing your business thrive, your team motivated, and your customers leaving with a smile. Talk to Coach Chris Cotton at AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching, autoshopcoaching.com. And ready to optimize with today's class? Boy, listen to an episode we did with David Boys here. Great program. Roll out a training plan for your automotive shop. In just 5 minutes daily, boost knowledge, retention, and improve team performance. Start seeing results today. Join your peers at today'sclass.com.
Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and thanks.
Black's Tire, big company, distributor in multiple states.
Yep.
And the challenge that you have with 60 stores, and how many mechanical or technology specialists work for you?
So right now, we're probably somewhere right around 300, spread across the board, somewhere around 300.
When I think about, David, all the technicians that exist in our industry, let's just assume there's 200,000, 250,000 shops. They each have 3 people, 750,000, a million people that could potentially fix cars for a living. And he's got 300 of those. And when we realize how heavy the lift is for the entire independent side of the industry, and to know that you've got 300, if you will, under your wings, and you've got to get them and keep them current, it seems like it's an easier lift than the national basis. But yet, 300 different personalities, needs and wants, different environments that you're in. What's the biggest challenge to get and keep them current?
And on top of that, so total, I touch a little over 600 people because I also work the front counter and back and the shop.
Got it.
But the biggest challenge is the change. It's change. It's different. Look, some of my team has taken to it. We can get into that later, but yeah, some of my team has taken to it. And then I've got others that, this looks different. This doesn't look like what I'm used to. I'm not so sure about that. But yeah, usually it's one of those things where when I finally get somebody to take it and run with it, and I had an issue this past week. I was at one of my locations out in Hickory. I had a great conversation with the manager there. It's just nice when you sit down and have those conversations and you see the light bulb go off. Like, I did not know that.
It's the joy of what you do that you got through.
I think the joy, well, in that particular situation, yes, but the joy comes for me is seeing my team get better.
Yeah.
Is helping. I mean, I love helping my team. I've been with them for almost 17 years. and I love helping them. They're a great group of people.
How'd you get into this job?
Oh, gosh. I try to keep it short. I can get a little long-winded. It's kind of a funny story because I've been in the industry since 94 professionally. I've been turning wrenches. I put my first motor in my junior year of high school. But professionally, I've been in it since 94. I started getting my ASEs in 94 as well. But I'd actually got out of the industry for a little bit, and it just so happenstance. And I think everything happens for a reason. I believe that. I think everything happens for a reason. But just so happenstance, I was at one of the shops, one of the locations, and I knew the manager there. We were good friends. And he says to me, he says, Dwayne, he says, you ever think about getting back into business? And I'm like, sometimes I miss it. And I kid you not, when I left, I didn't get 10 minutes down the road, and his boss, Keith Noble, was calling me. Called me on my mobile. Says, Dwayne, I hear you're thinking about getting back into business. I said, well, I think about it sometimes. He says, you need to come see me. And the rest is history.
When I hear stories like that, and we want to start interviewing people that started out in the bays or in the backyard, okay, and then ultimately found themselves into the bays, and then now, if you will, lead or direct the education or the training for Black 60 stores, 600 people, whatever, because it's the front and the back. Where am I going and how am I getting there? So many people ask that question, and you had opportunity and you seized it. But what I want to know, great story about getting into Blacks. Tell the world that you did some things to step your way up to get to where you are today. And I think to our listener, to our shop owner, when people want to say, where can I go, boss? There's a spark in there that just doesn't make them a normal person. What was your spark?
As silly as it may sound, honestly, it's putting the puzzle together.
I love that.
I got to get that puzzle in whatever it is, whether it's a BMW 7 Series or a Chevy Malibu, and it comes in and it's got a problem and nobody can figure it out. I feel like I have to put that puzzle together. And the only way I can put that puzzle together is if I can get a picture from somebody else to say, Dwayne, this is what the puzzle looks like. So I chase after that knowledge. I mean, I can't help it. I'm a nerd, okay, in case you can't tell. I'm a nerd. So, yeah, the information it's great. And the cool thing about it is that the way that everything is evolved, I mean, just this right here. I didn't have this back in, 94, 95, 96, 98. I didn't have this right here.
ASTA.
Yeah, or this. Just this, what we're doing here right now. We didn't have this.
Okay.
When the information technology just started rolling in, I mean, it was just like oh my goodness, it's almost like an overload for me. It's just ridiculous. But it's me chasing after the information, and I have to put that puzzle together.
Okay, so you became the puzzle master. By the way, we got to go to David Johnson at ASE and say we need a new ASE category called puzzle master. I love this. So you were the puzzle master in the company. Everyone listens to this, okay? Everyone listens. So Dwayne was outstanding in a certain category. And you were probably amongst, as the company was growing, the go-to person when something with a problem came in?
I get a lot of phone calls.
For example, in yesterday's class with Brian and Jim, Brian's a go-to guy inside the industry. And we know a great dozen to 20 technicians. They're always on their phone. They're taking phone calls. They're doing texting. They're doing whatever kind of app to communicate amongst each other. And they're solving each other's problems. There is a group of puzzle masters. I just love that. Tracy, I think we have to rename. We got to go to Brian. As soon as we're done here, it says, Brian, you got to bring the puzzle master group together. I love that. So you got known as that. They looked at you when they were saying, hey, listen, we've got to tuck this training thing together. Is that what happened?
Pretty much. Training in our company for years. So we're 95 years old. We've been around since 1929. And training has been mostly OJT, and nothing ever formal has ever been put in place. And then my boss, the gentleman that hired me with the company, he approached me one day and says, Dwayne, we got to put something together. The team needs it. I'm like, okay, all right.
It reminds me of the words tuck it up, because it's Lucy. Everybody's finding and getting their own information, and this person's good at that, but he's 30 miles away over here. And do we send the car? Do we talk to each other? Or do we try to lift the entire company all at once? Not all at once, but do we just continue to lift our knowledge and the education that we get and the learning that we need? And it fell under you.
Yes.
And if you're looking at his face, if you're listening through audio, you just can't see the pressure that's coming from this man's face. It was a nerd look. It was like, oh my God, what do I have to do now? Because nerds don't refuse anything. Just bring it on.
Yeah, it's the puzzle. Again, it's the puzzle.
God, I love that.
I got to put it together.
Can we title this episode The Puzzle Master?
So
Good fit.
And so you think about you, David, and I'm sorry, but it almost fits. Not to use a metaphor that we've been talking about. It's almost like, listen, if we can put a piece of a training question in front of people every day, we can build. There's no size to the puzzle that you're working on in your company.
Yeah, the way we often describe what we do is building blocks. Each little concept, each little scenario that we're pushing to people each day, building blocks. It's a way to scale them over time. But I think part of the challenge with a group like Dwayne's is what you were just describing. There are lots of moving pieces, lots of locations. Do we help this shop, or can we do them all together? It's one challenge to deal with one team and one location, but when you're juggling 60 and you have an issue and you need to drive consistency and efficiency across those groups, that's a challenge that typically requires technology to help you get there.
Today's class is just an incredible tool for us. I'll never forget the episode we did at Vision last year. It was a blast. It was a hoot.
Mm-hmm. It was a good time.
Yeah. He brought in 3 of his clients. You probably know who these shop owners were. And they were one more aggressive than the next that says that, I'm sorry, I answer more questions than you. My company is doing more today's class than anyone else. And I love the competitive nature that some of these shops have used together under your platform to push and drive continuous education or putting more puzzle pieces together. I'm sorry, I just got to love that. That is so great.
Dwayne's team has one of the most interesting competitive prizes out there. I don't want to steal his thunder, but they have one of the more unique prizes. So I'll have Dwayne rest.
Love to hear about it. So you use today's class in a way that does rewards?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Tell us about it. I love it.
In fact, I'm going to be doing some driving. Looks like I'm going to be doing some driving next week.
You got to bring gifts?
Sort of. I actually had a wrestling heavyweight belt, like a full-on heavyweight belt, and we run monthly on our teams. So my team in Apex right now currently is the belt holder. They've held it for the past 4 months.
The belt holder.
Yes,
Do they all wear it like over their shoulder and take pictures?
I've got pictures.
I love it.
I've got pictures. Yep. So they've been holding it for 4 months now, and I put a challenge out last month. I said, is there nobody that can knock these guys off their throne? So my store out in Matthews decided to take that challenge on, and it looks like I'll be driving from Apex to Matthews next week.
How are you measuring that?
In today's class, every team, as they accumulate their points, you average out everybody's points for that team. And at the end of each month, of course, you've got ranking 1, 2, 3, and on down the line. That belt, it's a real deal. It's a gold with an alligator skin. Fake alligator skin, by the way. Alligator skin, a real deal gold belt. And it's got some weight to it, I'm here to tell you.
Where do you get it made?
So you can actually go online and get those custom made. I got it custom made. Yeah.
All right. I'm making a challenge to the rest of the industry. I don't care if you're a small shop with 4 guys, not guys, but, technicians, ladies, men. What a hell of an idea. I mean, you could get a trophy and move it from bay to bay, but there's nothing like the belt.
Yeah, nothing like the belt. Yeah.
Go online, get yourself the belt. About how much? A couple hundred?
Actually, it was like $185, I think.
Oh, my
is what I
God.
spent. It was cheap.
Are you kidding me?
But it's a real deal belt. It's great. I love it. It's awesome.
Amazing. So we've got a belt as a gift or a prize to the best shop that earns X amount of points.
Correct.
They have to be in the leaderboard, if you will.
That's it. Yep.
But it's your company that builds that leaderboard. I mean, the dashboard that you work with, Dwayne, is his, but everyone can see who's where they are. I mean, there's no surprise. Probably on a daily basis, they know who's on the leaderboard.
That's correct. So with each daily training session that somebody completes, they can earn points as they go. Those get aggregated into team scores, and you can view individual, team or individual competition lists, team-based competition lists. The idea is really just to drive some engagement, drive some communication, drive some competition. The fact that Matthews wants to beat Apex, the result of that is the team in Matthews is probably engaging in the daily training more regularly. They're probably learning a little bit more. They might be talking about this a little more. So it's a hook to drive that behavior and hopefully make it a little more fun, drive a little more excitement within the group.
Is it about getting the answers right? Or
there's a bonus component to that, but it's more about consistency. So the way that our training works, I used the word building blocks a few minutes ago. So we use a question-based mode of training for this daily approach. You can do more. There's modules and videos and so forth, but this daily burst of training is typically question-driven. And the questions are at various levels across various topics, and they're guiding you towards a particular destination based on your role. And with each question you get, you will get 10 points for just answering the question typically. And if you get it right, you get 5 more. But what we'll find is that the biggest factor in terms of having a high score is just consistency. Doing it each day. Those that do it twice a week are certainly not going to earn as many points as the person that does it 5 days a week, for example. So orgs or teams that are very consistent with their training, holding people accountable, because let's say the 3 of us are on a team and you're not doing your daily training, Dwayne and I might lean on you a bit to say, hey, you're dragging our team score down. So those are the types of discussions we like to see, and that's kind of how we can pull that together.
When you look at the dashboard, and I had the luxury of seeing an online demo from David, can you look to see where the strength of your teams are in all the different areas of knowledge? You may have a team that needs to go a little bit heavier into some diag because they're not getting some of those higher tech questions right.
Absolutely. It's all there. The data is all there. I can see everything.
Can you make any adjustments, or are you out there being a cheerleader for people to do more heavier duty training in certain areas?
So you can actually do both. I can lean on David's team to say, hey, look, can we push a little bit more of this to the team? And at the same time, I can reach out to that team and say, hey, look, I see that you're struggling here with this. What can I do, to help you? What would you like to do? What sort of education would you like to get to help you with this?
Are you doing the education, or are you going to hire in?
So typically, and it can go both ways. My issue is that being one person stretched across 60 locations, that can be an issue. But I do have a plethora of, being in this industry for 30 plus years, I got a plethora of outlets that I can reach out to and say, hey, look, my guys need some help with this. And we have our own training portal. I built a training portal for our team that, if somebody's got a problem with ignition, primary and secondary ignition systems, hey, go here and check this information out. There's great courses in there. They're short, and run it, and get back with me. Let me know, what you think of it.
So you have a learning management system?
So no, actually, I built a website, which is something else. If you told me 5 years ago,
you're a geek.
I am.
I'm sorry. We called him a nerd before, but now I'm into the geek zone.
I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm Forrest Gumping my way through this whole thing, honestly. And I built a website, never built a website before, and had no idea what I'm doing. And basically what I did was I aggregated all of our training outlets and just parked them in one place so my team has access to them.
Training outlets, suppliers, independent trainers?
Vendors, yeah,
okay.
I mean, for sure. I try to use every tool at my disposal. As a technician, the toolbox is your life. So,
ever bring in a trainer, though, to do some live stuff?
Absolutely, yeah.
When do you find the time to do that? And it's not your personal time. One of the things that I'm really concerned about of recent is just to hear the excuses that come from, I can't go to training. We've been just having so many side talks here. And it doesn't matter where I go. It's like, how many do you think are just from the local 30-mile radius? And they say, not many. People are coming from Colorado. We've got friends from Buffalo that are here. Maine, from all over. They've realized the power of this conference, but where are the people locally? And it goes back to time with family, the complicated lives that we're leading, the time-bound stuff, the time wasting that we're using on our phone that we could maybe be possibly training. How do you fit it all in? And how do you accommodate the team so that there's some quality of life that still exists, even though they need to be educated?
It's obviously a balance. You got to find balance. You have to find balance. At the same time, though, I mean, look, I do come from a generation where, putting in, 60, 70 hours a week is, do I expect my team to do that? No. So I try to find ways, like today's class, where we don't have to put in all that extra time and we can still get quality education to the team. And look, like I said, sometimes we bring people in. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this or not, but so Schrader recently came in for us.
Sure.
And did some education for us and going around to our different locations and doing the classes and TPMS training. It was awesome.
You're in the tire business, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
It would be very valuable for that. Yeah. What's going on with TPMS, by the way?
Oh my goodness. So TPMS, and I got to be honest with you, TPMS for me has always been easy. I get a lot of those phone calls too. TPMS has always been easy, but the changes that I see coming, I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about it. Bluetoothing, radio frequencies, RFID, chipping in the tires. Yeah, I'm excited to see what's coming.
Scary. Who would have thought? You just told us, he says, I'm from that generation that works those 60, 70 hours. And I said, oh, only 60, 70? I'm from that generation. Right? And then I looked and I said, oh, there's a little gray in your beard. So I got to figure that out.
I was actually having that conversation with my wife this morning. I said, sometimes I wish I looked older, because, but.
Oh, then you really are?
Well then
what are you, 40 or 49?
Thank you, Carm.
All right. I just threw you a bone.
You're getting a hug after this, okay?
I just threw you a bone.
No, I'm 54.
54. Wow. Okay. And that generation, that's not X, is it?
That's Gen X.
Gen X still works 60, 70? Really? Okay. I'm a boomer.
I love you guys, man.
All right.
Love you guys.
We set the stage.
Yeah.
You rooted for what? Why?
Millennials?
Oh, you rooted for millennials?
I think, yeah.
All right.
Ask my daughter. She'll tell you.
Why today's class to help you get this done?
It's actually, again, I think everything happens for a reason. So at the time, my wife was working on an app called Babbel. It's microlearning, okay? And when I started this endeavor in the training aspect of our team, I was like, microlearning, that's what I need for my team. This would be ideal. It takes zero production from my team. I looked high and low. I kind of fussed at Dave for this a little bit. We got to get some better PR people. It just so happenstance I was in a meeting with a group of folks from AutoZone, and I don't know if you know Jim Gray. Jim Gray says, Dwayne, I got somebody you need to talk to. I'm like, oh, do you now? And he's like, yeah, you need to talk to David Boyes. I'm like, okay. I've been in love with him ever since.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
The gaps in training, David, that shop owners discover, is that one of the best tools that they see in their dashboard in their back here? And so when they see a conference or an opportunity or a webinar come up, they can literally, instead of going, managed by walking around, which is a big thing of me today, getting out, learning, listening to your people, how do you really do any kind of valued assessment of their learning curve without today's class? I just can't figure out how someone wouldn't have that just to find out where training for their company, for that individual needs to go.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that we hear weekly from shop owners that we talk to are they recognize that their team needs more training, but they don't know where. So if they're going to come attend an event like this, we talk to a lot of shop owners that say, I'm comfortable sending them, I'm comfortable making the spend, but I'd be more comfortable if I knew where they needed help. If we can get them to a point where you can, understand where somebody's gaps are, that gives them a higher degree of confidence that they are making a wise investment. Because it's very frustrating for them to go spend $300,000, $500,000 on sending somebody to a training event and having them come back and say that was too basic. Or that
Did you say $100,000?
$1,000.
Okay.
Not $100,000. That'd be quite.
I wasn't quite sure what I heard there, but yeah, please don't scare people off because the conference industry will close up. But we were talking about that yesterday, about the spend on what it takes. I facilitated a class yesterday, and we were talking about investments in training. The absolute beauty, we hear it all the time. I closed the shop and brought all my people here, and there were people on the other side of the room that looked at them like, you're nuts. You're crazy. How could you do that? And it allowed me as facilitator to say, yes, how do you do that? I know the answer to it. I know the answer. Every answer I get. We told our clients that we were going away for education or training. We didn't book any time that day. It wasn't like we needed to close and all of a sudden customers were pissed. We told them. I told the story about, that your doctor has to go for training, but you never know when he goes because they just don't book anybody that day. I can't afford the revenue loss. And I look at the people who close up and go, and I said, tell me what happens. He says, oh, it's amazing how much we make it up. It just comes back. Everybody's excited. We've learned things over time. We've become more efficient. We're a closer team. some of that stuff you can't put a value on.
Yeah, there's a lot of soft benefits like that are very tough to find the ROI on. But one thing that we also hear similar to this is just the trade-off that shop owners make. It's great that they're doing it. The challenge that they sometimes have is they can't do that monthly, more than likely, or quarterly might be a stretch. So the idea is that if you are limiting your training to just that one session, it might be very powerful, but we would argue that having another solution to allow people to grow, that's not going to put you in that position where you have to make that trade-off each time. You tend to need multiple paths to get there.
I've heard people go out and say, I took half the group to Apex or half the group to Vision, and the other half came here, and we do it twice a year. We pick and choose who comes and goes. What a perfect, use today's class to come out. And what I hear people talk about when they come to conferences, I ask owners, who picks the classes? And I've heard a multiple different, I let my people pick. Then I ask the question, do they really pick the right ones? The answer is I'm not 100% sure. If today's class was in the mix, you're looking at your dashboard, you know what's going on. Here's the courses, pick them, let me know. Now you've got those classes, you know what the dashboard looks like, and you confirm or deny all of this and say, hey, listen, we got to talk because I think you need this instead of that. And you talk about finite directed training that's going to elevate not only that individual technology specialist, mechanical specialist, it's going to lift them in a certain way that they never thought. It's going to help your business. I mean, it's a double-edged positive sword. It's a good sword that cuts, and it cuts for good.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I heard talking to folks yesterday, there were some folks that were attending a session and ducking out and then going into another one because they are interested in both, right? And that might be, perhaps they should have stayed in one or the other, because sometimes we don't know what we don't know. Actually, that's always true. We don't know what we don't know. But in any situation, some data, some insight in terms of where your gaps are can help inform that decision. Maybe I should stay in that one session because all the insight I have, my experience, the data, and so forth suggests that this is an area I should probably dedicate a little more time to. This other course I might be interested in, but I might be closer to where I need to be there and can just improve a little bit.
What's your opinion, Dwayne, on ducking out and going back and trying to do two at once?
I actually did that last year. The issue with that is that...
Yeah, but you're looking for a completely different... You're up here looking at a different perspective. But if I was the wrench and I would get half of whatever I was looking for, does that make a hole? I don't know.
You lose context. I think you lose context when you do that. So if you duck out, and here's the thing, if you're in that kind of session, typically you're good educators, those folks that take the time out to create that content. It's a lead up to the end, to bring everything together, everything we just talked about, to bring everything together there at the end. So if you duck out midway through, you're going to miss that point. And then if you go into another session, you've missed the lead up. You got the point at the end, but you missed all the context to the lead up. Good or bad, I don't know, indifferent. Yeah, I have done it.
All right, so you introduced today's class to your team. What did it take for it to become constitution or part of the culture?
That's still a work in progress.
How long has it been?
So the whole team since January. Our team is, and again, look, I've got, 640, I think my last count today was 643 people. So yeah, there are some of them that are, just looks different to me, Dwayne. I don't know this. And then, the other conversation that I had at my gentleman at Hickory location, sometimes when I have those conversations and say, hey, look, and I use all kinds of different analogies for them. And, and I asked him, I said, hey, Chris, I said, you take medicine for anything? He says, well, yeah, Dwayne, sometimes, I said, well, it only works when you take it, right?
It's a good analogy.
Yeah, and that's when you see the light bulb go off.
Yeah. I'm sitting here a little dumbfounded that it's taking a while to have the full acceptability of today's class inside the company. But your culture is, you don't rule with an iron fist.
No.
And you want people to get on board. Can you expect that the people that are loving this, that are getting on board, that are wearing the belt, that see the positivity, you're expecting them to help the others over the hill?
And they do.
And they do.
Yep.
Is there going to be a point in time in the rollout I just noticed your pocket protector, Dwayne. I'm sorry. Do we have a good shot of that? No, we don't in the camera. We have to talk about every writing device I've ever seen in the entire world in that pocket protector there. And that must be part of your costume, maybe? I'm just, I just went left.
No, it's good. And actually, this is part of our culture. You know, if you go into a shop and you don't have some of the basic implements, you know, like a tire gauge tool or a air gauge tool, or even just a small flashlight, those, and at the end of the day, look, be the example. You know, be the example. And this is the way I always rolled when I was a service manager for the company. And people always made fun of me. It's okay.
For the people on camera, you can see your picture here. Could you just lift up a little bit? That maybe we could. Yeah, there it is. By the way, you're right. Now that I'm looking at it a little closer, there are tools in there,
yes,
not just pens.
There's only 2 pens in there.
Only 2 pens.
Yeah.
Do I see a red one?
Yes.
And the red one means something?
It does. In my particular location where I used to work at, all of my guys in the shop, my guys and girls in the shop, whenever they were filling out their work order, and this goes back to communication for me. Communication is a big deal for me. They use red pens to write everything down. And the reason for that is because when they turned in a work order and it had all of their notes on it, I want to be able to decipher between my notes that came from the front and the notes that came from the back and vice versa.
Brilliant. Are you doing any of this electronically DVI in the company at all?
Not yet, but we are looking at it.
You're going there.
Yep.
Let's go back to the adaptability of your people. Chime in anytime, David.
No, I mean, what I would say is what Dwayne has been facing is not unusual. It is a very difficult thing to roll out something like this, particularly something that you have to do regularly.
Yeah.
It requires a behavior change. It requires development of a habit, and you will have pushback. We roughly see that about a third of our audience, typically when they're rolled out to, will embrace it. We see another third that will go if they're getting nudged, you know, by their manager and being given good reasons to move forward. But then there's another third that drags their feet. From a business perspective, we believe it's really important to set expectations about accountability. Why are we doing this? What's in it for you as the employee? If you just hand it to them and say, hey, this would be really nice if you did it, you know, there's going to be people that do not adopt it. So what we've worked really hard with Dwayne on is trying to figure out, okay, what is the way that we can make this valuable? So we use things like communication tools, you know, sharing company alerts and so forth. Like they had particular procedures that they needed to get distributed to all locations. You have an issue in one location and it's, you know, a fire drill and you want to get that communication elsewhere. Those are ways to make it really relevant to that audience.
Okay, speak to a shop owner in the audience, David, and pretend that you own a shop and you just signed on to today's class. You see all kinds of value in having this. How are you going to announce it and bring it into the culture of your business?
The best practice that we have is to use it more from an accountability and development perspective. So for example, if you do monthly or weekly one-on-ones with your staff, understand where they are looking to go. And you can describe this as, this is something that's going to help you get there. I can help you track. I can help push you in the right direction. We can use this data to guide you towards another training course. Some groups will use the engagement stats and the knowledge improvement stats to promote somebody. We've got some groups that will use it to guide their team towards certifications. So it becomes just a very base level component for an employee to demonstrate engagement and their willingness to develop and move forward from there. Folks that won't play ball, that aren't interested in learning, won't take 3 to 5 minutes. There's some underlying takeaways that you can have from that. So you're not interested in developing, you're not interested in getting better, you think you know things already. Not that means that this person wouldn't be a good employee, but it does drive some additional questions, particularly if the rest of the team is on board and moving forward.
You're being so nice and kind.
I'm trying.
Oh my God, I'm just listening to this and saying, damn it. Get off your hamster wheel and get on board, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have that though. I mean, the way that we have shifted to deploying independent shops is now we do a 90-day test phase, essentially, which enables shop owners to determine if this is a good fit for them. And one of the big questions there is, how does their team embrace it? Does the manager have to nag people to do this each day? Or are they able to just say, hey, this is the way it's going to go? Or do they build incentives around it? But the most common issue that we have why shops wouldn't want to continue is their team doesn't want to do it. They're not interested in participating in that for 3 to 5 minutes a day. And for them, that eliminates the value prop.
If my culture was that of service and value to our customers' vehicle, make it safe and reliable with a trusted, ethical, respected relationship, whatever those great power value words are, and we're bringing on today's class because we want to be the absolute cutting edge best at everything that's technical on that vehicle. And we can come in every day and we can work our butts off. And we can go home, have dinner, go out, golf, bowl, be with the wife, be with the spouse, do all of that stuff and come back tomorrow and do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Or we can try to lift ourselves up by learning something new or confirm what we do or we don't know every day, so that when people come here, not only are they saying, it's a great place, love these people, they're a lot of fun, but man, they get it right all the time. And I don't think you can get it right all the time without furthering your education and without learning something new every day. Am I smoking bad stuff here?
No, not at all. And look, at the end of the day, 1 foot forward. If we can get 1 foot forward today, that's awesome.
I love that.
That's all it takes. You know, if I get 1 foot forward today and one tomorrow and then one the next day, where am I at the end of the week? Where am I at the end of the year? I mean, it's huge.
Now think about the individual who wants to get ahead, who wants to be the best. He wants this tool. There's an internal thing that says, I got it right today. And wow, I thought I knew it, but I wasn't sure. And I got it right. And now it's inside. It's constitution. I own it.
We have plenty of those users where we can see that not only do they do what we would describe as daily training, but they go out and pursue more. They can see their score. They can say, for example, in our EVAP topic, well, I'm at 85%, but I want to be 100. So they will go through and work through it and boost up their score. There's definitely a number of users in the platform like that will drive forward to try and get there.
And how will people be able to boost their score?
They just continue going through the training. They have to do extra cycles to work through. It takes a little while to get your averages up. The way that the measurements work in the platform, it's not like a test where if you take it one time and you get an 85, that's where you are. We're going to have aggregate scores based on your performance across that topic that you've done in the past. So it takes a little work to boost it up.
Do you still believe in conferences like this?
We do. But again, I think there are, from a learning perspective, I think there are some challenges in terms of how each person can absorb, how much volume of information they can absorb, how well they will retain it. So I would say that there's a balance. I mean, if you take notes, if you try to record a session, whatever it is, to refer back to it, because it is very difficult to retain, large bursts of information over time. So I think the combination of aiming at the right topic, aiming at something that's relevant, that's just going to increase your ability to take away and retain that over time.
If I went to a class here and I enjoyed it, I loved it, I learned a few things, could I go back to work that is using today's class, press a button and say, challenge me on this topic that I just learned?
Yeah. I mean, assuming we have the topic, but yeah. So the word that I would use is reinforcement.
Okay.
The word that you would want to, or the practice you would want to do is over time, continue to build that, because it's not going to stick forever unless you're using those skills day by day. Wow. But yeah, it would be very easy to go in there and essentially dig a little deeper.
I enjoyed this episode. Anything final, Dwayne, that you'd love to say?
The team over at today's class, they're phenomenal. They have more than exceeded my expectations of this going into it. And just to go on what Dave was saying, I mean, there's been times where I've called Dave and say, hey, Dave, can you flip this switch? Yeah, not a problem, Dwayne. Not a problem. Okay. You just don't expect that.
What kind of switch are you asking for?
Well, like the training, if I want something in particular.
Okay.
If I'm looking for something in particular, hey, look, I did an ignition class or a front end class or something like that. Or, I've got a guy that's preparing for ASEs. Hey, Dave, can we flip a switch on this particular person? Not a problem, Dwayne.
Okay. And so that's nothing you could do. You've got to reach out to Dave and his team to do that?
Yes. So there are you can't let somebody like me get into the back end of it.
You're very smart, David, because he would geek you to death, and all of a sudden there'd be red lights going off at the headquarters of today's class saying, Dwayne is at it again.
He gives me minimal access.
It's a balancing act, because the way that we view it is that somebody like Dwayne, or even, let's say, a shop manager, they may not have the interest, the time, the know-how to administer a full system. So we try to find this balancing act. Okay, here are the switches that you can flip we try to give you as much control as we can, but
Got
there's
it.
some things that we'll have to take
Some
on.
things you have to go back to you or the team. Well, I love this. Puzzle master, Dewain DeGarmo is here. A geek and nerd. You got every title I know, but I think you're the geek and the nerd, David.
Perhaps. I need the pocket protector, though. So.
I know you do.
I've got a spare.
And David Boyce from today's class, of course, a sponsor of the Town Hall Academy. Thank you for your support. And thank you to NAPA Tracks for having us here. We're at the ASTA Expo.com this year, and we're having a great time. So thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you, Carm.